Welcome back to our series on Firebase integration with the SwiftUI in iOS app. In today's video, we will be exploring an important aspect of Firebase Crashlytics integration, implementing crash reporting in your SwiftUI app for enhanced error tracking and debugging. But before we dive into the implementation details, I want to remind you of an exciting surprise giveaway we have planned at the end of the series. So make sure to stay tuned and follow my social handles for more details down the road. Trust me, you won't want to miss out on the chance to win some amazing prizes. And now let's get started. But before we do, I'd like to ask for your support by liking this video and subscribing to my channel. And your support encourages me to continue creating informative tutorials like this for you. So to begin the process of integrating Firebase Crashlytics into our SwiftUI app, we will refer to this official Firebase documentation. So this documentation offers a pretty comprehensive guidance on integrating Crashlytics and utilizing its powerful features for iOS app crash reporting. All right, now let's jump into the code and see how we can seamlessly integrate Firebase Crashlytics into our SwiftUI app for efficient crash reporting. So first of all, I think we have to go back to the documentation and start from the beginning. So here's the official documentation again, and I believe since we're integrated with a lot of Firebase SDK's module from the past videos, I think for the initial setup, we should be good. We already have the SDK in the app. I think we just want to choose Crashlytics library, and then we can properly integrate them. And also, of course, we want to initiating the Firebase. So that's already installed, integrated. And the next step after we choose Crashlytics module, the library from the SDK, we want to set up Xcode automatically uploading DSYM files. So let's go integrate the Crashlytics first, then I'll come back for this. All right, so since you're in the app, let's go to the project and go down to right here, frameworks library, then search for Crashlytics and edit. And you should be able to access that right away. Then we can go back to the documentation. We can start the DSYM process. Okay, so set up Xcode automatic upload DSYM files. So to generate human-readable crash reports, Crashlytics needs your project debug symbols. The following steps describe how to configure Xcode to automatically produce your DSYMs, process them, and upload the files when you build your app. So open the project workspace and select project file in the left navigator. From targets list, select your main build target and click the build setting tab and complete the following step. So click all and then search for debug information format. And then set debug information format to DWARF with a DSYM file for all your build tabs. So let's do that first, then before we continue to next step. So go to the project, then selecting on the target, then want to go to build setting. All, then you can use a combine or levels, not too much difference. Personally, I like to use the combined. It's easier for me to read all those. Otherwise, you're gonna see all different levels of items. So let's continue here. Search for the debug information and set debug information format to DWAF with DSYM file. You can upload for just the production version, or you can also upload for the debug version. That's totally up to you. But I think for our purpose, for our demonstration purpose, we're gonna choose to upload for both situations. Okay, so next step is click the build phase tab, then complete the following steps so that Xcode can process your DSYMs and upload files. So click the new run script and make sure your new run script fits your project's last build phase, okay? You need to keep that in mind. Crashlytics can properly process Otherwise, Crashlytics cannot properly process DSYMs. Okay. So then expand and use run script section. And in the script field, we want to add this script in there. So let's copy that. All right. After that, we'll come back for those things. Okay. Now let's head to the build phase. Click on this plus sign. New run script. I was just gonna call this. You can double click on this to rename it. I'm gonna call it Crashlytics. And then we want to expand that. You can just paste that right in there. Okay, let's go back to the documentation, see what other steps we need to do. So the location of your project's DSYM file is right here. So in the input field, input file section, add a path for the location of following files. So by default, normally it's this. You don't need to do anything else, unless you rearrange your file for a different purpose. But otherwise, it should be just at that location. And then the location of your project's build info plist file. So provided you also need to be put under there. Provide location of project build info plist file enables Crashlytics to associate an app version with DSYMs. Okay, we'll go ahead and copy that afterwards. Okay, so now we copied both those file paths right here. I think we should be good to go. Let's go double check the documentation, see what else we need to do. Okay, I think that's all the steps we need to set it up. Next is to do force a test crash to finish the setup. So to finish the setup, Crashlytics and see initial data in the Crashlytics dashboard of Firebase console, you need to force a test crash. So add a code to force a test crash. So basically, it just cause a fatal error. We should then build run the Xcode, and then you should be able to see your app crashes. Okay, so since our app actually loading stuff when we log in, so let's put a crash over in the Firebase manager. So right at when we try to get the shopping list, right before that. Let's call fatal error. I'm gonna give it an error message, cause this is a test error. Okay. So now let's run this app and see what's going on. Okay, we should be able to log in with no issue. That will crash right at the time when we're pulling the data. All right, we have a crash. So let's go to the Firebase console and see what kind of information we got from there. Okay, so now we're at the Firebase Crashlytics console, and you can see the app detected, and we're waiting for a crash. So sometimes Crashlytics actually take a little bit time until the data fully synced and fully uploaded, because they don't really upload right at the moment, or sometimes it might be delayed because their server. So that is okay. We'll come back for it. We'll see the crash. For now, we can do another test run with this additional information, which is enable debug logging for Crashlytics. So that way you can actually see a debug log and if the report has been submitted directly in your console. So let's copy this. And let's follow this step here. In Xcode, select product scheme, edit scheme, select run from the left menu, then select arguments. In the argument pass on the launch section, add this. Okay, so let's go back to Xcode. So we just need to go on here, the scheme, and edit scheme. Go to run, argument pass on launch, plus sign, and copy that in. And close that. Now let's run again. Now we should see some information in the console. All right, now you actually see a lot of Firebase debugging logs that's showing up here. So we can run this again. Is it our logging? And we can crash it again. and see what we got here. To disable Firebase auth, let's test error, fatal error, and learn fatal error. This test. Okay, so let's close that. Okay, so here is something that should be keep in consideration. It's important and use the following step: disconnect your test device or simulator from Xcode debugger, especially you are using simulator. The Xcode debugger prevents crash report from being sent to the Crashlytics. So let's go back to disconnect them and just calling from the app directly. So here you need to stop running your app with Xcode if you are. So then you can actually just launch your app and log in again. Let's do that test again. Okay, sign in and you see the app crashed. Okay, so looks like I was missing some steps here. So basically, right after you trigger the crash on your simulator, you need to run Xcode in order to complete submission of the crash report file. So now you can see here's a complete report submission with ID of this. So if we go to the documentation real quick, that you can see that open your app from the home screen of a test device or simulator, and in your app, press the test crash button, or in our case, it's actually triggered automatically. So after your app crashes, run again from Xcode, that your app can send the crash report to the Firebase. So in the real world production issues, in the real world production app, that the application will actually attempt to send a report whenever you like right after you crash. Then when the user try to launch again, then the application will try to send that to the Firebase console. And now let's go to the Firebase console and to see our crash report. Okay, now that you can see, we have successfully triggered a crash on our application, and that it shows up right here. It shows one crash on one user, and you can click on this crash. Okay, so it might take a little bit of time, but it will show up more detailed information for you, so that you can see which line of a file you are crashing. Because we uploaded the DSYM file, so it can actually understand. It can generate a human readable crash. So in that way, you can see which file, which line it crashed, and you can click on different tab. You can see more informations. You can also see the iOS simulator and what time and version of the application as well. So it's a pretty useful tool. And there you have it. Seamlessly integration of a Firebase Crashlytics into into our SwiftUI app for advanced crash reporting and debugging capabilities. That you should go to the Firebase documentation. Check out the customize the crash reports. So here you can add custom keys and create your custom style of crash reports. And it will all show up on your Crashlytics console on the Firebase. Or by leveraging the power of Firebase Crashlytics, that we can effectively track and resolve all the errors, ensuring a smooth user experience. So as always, if you enjoyed today's video and found it valuable, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. Your support encourages me to continue creating informative tutorials like this for you. And remember, the surprise giveaway awaits you at the end of this series, so stay engaged and follow my social handles for updates. So you don't want to miss out on this chance to win some amazing prizes. And thank you for joining me in today's video, and I will see you in the next one as we explore more exciting features of Firebase. Until then, keep coding, keep learning, and I will catch you soon.